Hi everyone, this is Eric, and welcome to another episode of Oh, Go On Then, You're Amongst Friends. In today's episode, I speak with my friend Daniel. He is in London having breakfast, and I'm in Seattle, just about to go to bed. And we spend a hilarious hour together. Most of it is not talking about folding and scrunching toilet paper, but a big part of it is initially. But we move beyond that. One of the questions that I find really fascinating is his understanding of the universe, understanding of God, and growing up in a household where his father didn't believe in God and his mother did, and where he stands now. When it comes to the difficulty or the suffering that he's seen or he's witnessed, his oldest, or I guess his firstborn, was sick for the first few months of life, and so he talks about that. Otherwise, conversations weave in and out. A lot of the time I'm cracking up. So I really think that today's episode with Daniel is quite funny, and I thoroughly hope that you enjoy it as well. So let's begin. Hi everyone, I'm Eric with the podcast Oh, Go On Then, You're Amongst Friends, and I've got one good friend here, Daniel. How are you?
And my porridge.
Good morning. It's morning in London, isn't it?
It certainly is. There's actually figs in here. Figs, dates, a pear, but no sugar. But there's lots of sugar in figs and dates, so that's why.
Why no sugar? Because
sugar's from the pit of Sheol. It's the utter evil nemesis that we have to avoid. And unfortunately, Britain, like America, has an obesity problem.
But you're skinny as a rail, to be honest. All right. Should we start?
I thought we had.
Question. Yeah, that's part of it. Question 1. Red or blue?
Red.
Really? Why?
It's fiery. I like the passion. Blue can be cold. Blue as a colour drains the colour out of my face. Apparently I'm autumn, so I like to have russety colours and autumnal colours, browns, and not bright greens, but kind of earthy greens. But with regard to red, it can't be a bright red. It's got to be, not a blood red, but I like the idea of fire and passion and excitement, and I'm definitely red.
Okay. Wow. You know what you like. Who told you that your color was autumn? Because I can see that.
Oh,
when I first saw you, I thought, man, his aura.
My aunt, who died recently.
Sorry to hear that.
She's a gorgeous lady. Not old enough to die. That was dementia that got her. And she was Gillian Accieri. She married an Italian who was, in fact, her second husband, I think. Her first husband died, but Gillian married Pino from a place called Pisognano. And this is just north of Rome. And when we went there on holiday one time, my dad said, poor Iano. What do you mean, poor Iano? And so everyone keeps pissing on him. I'm like, piss on Iano, Pisognano. Anyway, that's where Pino was from, and so I have three half-blood princes. I mean, 3 half-blooded Italians called Paolo, Cristiana, and Giancarlo. And you have to say their names with an Italian accent because you just do.
I was just going to ask, do you speak Italian or just Italian names?
No, I know how to say, E così questo è una forchetta, e così questo è un coltello, and io sono un bel uomo, which basically happened at one dinner table sitting with my aunt. She said, what is this? It is a fork. What is this? It is a spoon. I am a handsome man. And that's all I know in, although that's ridiculous, maybe scrub that, because that's like, why would I want to say that?
I think that's all that we really do need to know. Like,
what if you're a
handsome
fork,
man? A spoon, and I'm handsome. That's how I get around in English.
Feed me with food, and feed me with the beauty of humanity.
Next question. Do you fold or scrunch your toilet paper?
I definitely fold, and I recently changed how I wipe my bottom. It's a revelation at 45 years old. So when I was in Vienna, this sounds like, oh, when I was doing this job. But so the Germans, and in some European countries, I assume, but obviously Vienna is Austria, but it's the same in Germany too. So they have a little platform on the toilet. So you sit down and you poo onto a platform, and then the water comes from behind the poo and pushes the poo off the platform and down away to the sinkhole where it goes, to the wastage. But you think that's so gross, and you got to be careful, because if you're hanging low and sitting down low and you have a real big dump, then it might tickle your underside. But the thing, why that's so gross, you can see it. And the whole thing is that, you are what you eat, and what you produce reveals, what you eat. I've now got those images of those funny granny. There was a thing on TV one time when you'd hold your armpits up and the body odor, and these ladies were smelling your armpits and saying, yes, you've had sweet corn and you've had some pineapple yesterday, and in the last 24 hours you've actually eaten some rump steak. But I think it's the same with your poo. It obviously reveals a little bit about who you are and what's going on. But anyway, this guy said, I hate the idea of scrunching and wasting paper. So I used to do this thing, and I do it if I'm in a public toilet and stuff. While I'm there, I'm preparing my thing. So I'll put two together like this, and then I'll put them between that finger, and then another one there, and then another one there, and another one there, and then I'll have the final one here, and then I've got enough. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 pieces of paper should be all I need. And I used to have it like that, so I'm ready to go. And
did you go in between every finger?
Yeah. Well, as in just holding, just holding.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got it's like bullets in a holster, ready to go. So I used to stand up. This is the point. I used to stand up and just be able to see how the poo was doing, because I'm gluten-free, wheat intolerant, and observing my poo actually ridiculously got to be an issue, because then I could just make sure that I was doing fine. Probably need to move on from this question, but I recently thought, look, if you stay sitting down as opposed to standing up to look at your poo, if you stay sitting down, you're stretching out things so that it's easier to clean. And I thought, what a revelation. I'm now using less toilet paper. And the other thing was that when I'd wipe and fold, and then I'd try and get more out of it. So you fold it, now you've got a clean bit. So it's as you fold it again. And so each one of those bullets would actually go a long way. But there's a knack, with the sitting down and using it a few times, as it comes away, as it were.
Now, one thing I'm concerned about is I think that you've actually been pooing in bidets. I think that's the black part of the bidet.
Yes, there's a friend of mine.
That's an issue.
There's a friend of mine who, I don't know, she wipes so much, she's bleeding there, and she's got a bit of OCD stuff. And I said, look, you need to get yourself a bidet. And I think you don't realise as a child what a bidet is before you think, that's pointless. And then you think, oh yes, well, washing rather than wiping could be quite satisfactorily comforting.
I was reading a blog, and they said, if a bird were to poo on your hand, on your hand like that, would you grab a tissue and wipe it off, or would you use water and wipe it off? And I thought, of course you'd use water. Using a tissue wouldn't get it all off.
No, you'd smudge it into the pores of your skin, where the disease of the bird would infect your whole hand and shrivel it off.
Third question. Big spoon or little spoon?
Big? Well, sorry.
Big spoon or big spoon or little spoon?
Not a big spoon. Because I'm thinking of it like a serving spoon. I like my cereal or porridge in the morning. I'd never get it in, but I've been so a dessert spoon I'd answer, not a little spoon.
Not a serving spoon.
No, like, a dessert spoon. Although recently I've been having my porridge with a soup spoon. I've been varying it up. I like to vary things up. I don't like to fall into a rut. Although in some things I do.
A soup spoon with porridge, that makes a lot of sense, though. Kind
Yes.
of. Do you... Okay. What makes you laugh, Daniel?
Myself when I'm in good form. I think that sounds really arrogant, but I do like to laugh at myself. I do. If other people make me laugh and I feel free with them to be myself, then I just like pranking around. And if I feel loved by someone, then I'm able to just do silly characters and things like that. And then I like laughing at what that improvised jazzy moment has created. So that would be what makes me laugh. When I feel loved and free to be myself, then making other people laugh makes me laugh. And so that I think that would answer that, yeah.
How do you gauge when you feel loved and when you feel free? Is it, yeah, when is the tipping point, I guess, of that? Of knowing that you're loved? Is it like, because maybe you know somebody for 10 years and then you can feel like, oh, I feel comfortable, or maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah. I wear my heart on my sleeve, my problem often in life is that within a few minutes, if I sense somebody is free and relaxed and is able to connect with me and have fun with me, then that person's been my friend forever, and I might be silly with them or share stuff with them that is almost inappropriate, as if we have been friends for a long time and the trust hasn't been built, because I'm very trusting very quickly. And I have to remind myself that other people are not as trusting and definitely not as quickly as I am. And therefore, I have a thing of trying to treat everyone the same, and obviously not trying to judge people, apart from obese British and American people, and slightly fattest that I am. And, it is a shame. I should be a fat person being fattest rather than a slim person being fattest. Then it would be allowed, maybe. But anyway, so apart from that, try not to judge people and treat everyone equally. And therefore, if I trust someone quick, then why wouldn't I share with them anything if the moment seemed appropriate or suitable? Not say appropriate, because that has other angles to it, but if it was suitable for a moment. So what makes me unable to feel like I'm loved? I suppose listened to. I like listening. One of my love languages is helping people. So I like helping people, and I like people to help me. So if they show an interest in me or want to help me in some way, then I think, yeah, wow, great. I'm like that golden retriever. Yeah, how can I help you? And so yeah, I think it like that really.
What is your first happy childhood memory?
The first thing that triggered in my mind was unfortunate about this, is that you often remember a picture that is obviously you, but is a memory that your mum or dad have about you, and you kind of absorb it. So there's a picture of me with very blonde hair, although I'm kind of going grey now, and with brownish dark hair. I had blonde hair as a child for a long time, and there's a picture of me in a poppy field, and the poppies are taller than I am, or almost as, and so there's these gorgeous red poppies everywhere, and I'm just like looking down and just walking through this field of these red, tall, pretty poppies, and my mum's obviously taken the picture and has had that picture up, but I think I remember it for myself, and yet I wonder whether it's her memory, not mine. But I think I'd go with that really. I grew up in a hotel between the age of 4 and 13, 14. So a lot of my formative years were having a captive audience, if you like, as hotel guests down in Cornwall, in Bude, in the southwest of Britain, of England. And so there was a pool table in the games room, and so I got quite good at pool, playing the guests. But there were 7 acres of woodland, and it's nothing for you Americans with all your vast space, but for us Brits, I mean, this was amazing, having this woodland, and it sloped down to a stream, and every year there was wild garlic and lilies, and that was off the path that would. You would walk down this path and go down a steep bit and then walk down another path and then down to this river at the bottom of this area of this forest. It felt like a forest to a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old. And I used to leap in certain times of spring when this wild garlic or these kind of lily, they were thick, short, green leaves. I'd have to ask my mum what they were now, but they created quite a soft bed, and this because it was quite a big slope, it was all mulchy, and it was untreated and unkempt, and so we would run with my friends. I had these 2 friends, 2 twins called Keith and Kane, Keith and Kane Blatchford, which is a very Cornish name, and so Cornish. So where to now? Where to, boy? And so that's Cornish accent. And so I'd run and leap off the path, and then we'd kind of land, but we'd intentionally crumple our feet and legs into our hip and then to our shoulder, and then roll down, and we'd create like a snow plow or a snow angel through these lilies. And no, they weren't lilies. Those lilies are pretty, but they were. Yeah. Anyway, it's this bed of green mulch, but that is definitely a happy early memory I have, making rope swings. We also think that a German from the Second World War was hiding in our forest, and myself and Keith and Kane had to capture him, flush him out, kill him.
Did he have a house?
No, he was just permanently hiding in my forest, and we saw him. I saw him. I didn't know what his name was. Gunther. No, I'm making a German's name up. Hello, I love you, Germany. Germany is amazing. Merkel, you're a formidable leader. Anyway.
Next question.
Yes, help.
What 2 really lovely childhood memories. Wow.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, this next question, it's kind of 2 parts. The first part of it is, does the universe, or God, or Allah, does the universe know you exist? 1, and what does it think about you? That's the second part.
Absolutely, most definitely, and it thinks, and God, I believe, just thinks that I'm $1 million, $1 trillion. I have no monetary value. I'm just loved, accepted, and created for a purpose, for many purposes, and that I am significant and as equally significant as every other human on this planet. But I feel that absolutely, yeah, I was made to be in a relationship with God, and I feel absolutely loved in the knowledge of that.
That's profound. That is absolutely, that's quite profound. When did you realize that? When did you find that understanding and that feeling? It sounds like it's more than just what you have in your head.
So I grew up in a home where, like the yin and the yang, so I grew up in a home where my father didn't believe that there was a God. I think he since reflects that there's a creator, but call it the universe, call it whatever. That would be his concept of it. So I definitely think there's a real, he's open to a spiritual dimension in life and recognises those things. So I don't want to describe him as an atheist, nor do I want to describe him as being closed off. But he was definitely on one side of the camp, as it were. And my mother, who didn't describe herself as a Christian before she made a decision to become a Christian, but she, shortly after marrying my dad, and shortly after I was born actually, she became a Christian. And so she wanted to bring me up going to church. And I have had quite a varied church background. So initially I was in a fellowship church, which is kind of a made-up church, and then I went to a Methodist church for a while, for a few years, and I was in a band called The Methodicals, where I played keyboards, and it was only later on that I started to play the guitar and the double bass and stuff, but and now the trombone and all sorts. But so that was a Methodist church, and then that was about to the age of 10, 11, and then from 11 to 13 I was in an Anglican church for a long time, and that was significant. All these places were significant with various role models that taught me, that shared with me, that led by example, that God was real, that he loved us, and that Jesus being silly, but that Jesus was real, and wanted to be our friend, as it were. For a youngster, that was what was real for me. And then and there were various role models at these various places, like Victor Bickle. What a name! He used to make ice cream, and he was a fantastic rock and roll guitarist. And Victor Bickle, he was an amazing male role model in my life. And he made these bands, he made various bands. There was another one that was slightly better than us. I can't remember what they were called, but my friend was in that band. And in some ways I wanted to be in that band because my friends were in it, but I was in this other one. But anyway, actually, I think our band was better. Actually, having said that, I need to set the record straight. But for me, then when we moved and left Cornwall and went to Oxfordshire, I was part of a Baptist church. And so that Baptist church was for about 5 years of my life. And it was linked to Oxfordshire community churches. And every month we would go to the cinema and have our church service in the cinema, because all the different satellite churches would come together. It wasn't like a big church in any way. I mean, that was 700 or 800 and it wasn't full, but that felt significant because all the satellite churches were all about 60, 70 people, or, maybe up to 100. So that was a big celebration at the cinema once a month or once every other month. But it was in those various churches and in that healthy, multi-denominational upbringing that the common denominator of having a relationship with a real loving Father through his Son Jesus Christ, and enhanced by the excitement and the vibrancy that life inspired and driven by the Holy Spirit was possible. And so for me, I was baptized at 14 years old, 15 I think, and so various aspects of my faith have taken on a leap through the years, where I've continued to have that role model though of my mother and my father, and the confusion of one believing that Jesus is everything and the other one thinking that he's not. And so I've had that questioning mindset that's taken me to university. And then of course when you go to university as an 18-year-old, and I was 4 years at university, that's when you totally reflect upon the thoughts and feelings of everybody else, and you have to question how real and authentic your own faith is.
Yeah.
And then over the years, you know, your thoughts about the theology and faith and understanding of the Bible, of course, which is a very significant part of understanding things and how to make that real and significant for you personally. So, but it all comes down to being summarized that we were all made for a purpose, to love and be loved, and know that we're made for a relationship with a creative, heavenly, loving Father, who is also justice and mercy and grace, and all of those things as well. But that has been, my own discovery of the sum total of people and role models, and the Bible, of course, and songwriters, and life and stories, and unpicking that and culminating in me and my take on the truth.
There it is. Now, was there ever a period of time where you didn't believe that you would take the perspective of your father? Did that ever, while in college, was there a time where you thought,
No, I don't
maybe
think I've
Dad's
ever,
right?
for me, that would, you know, so sometimes I might question, is my faith feeling vulnerable at the moment? Is it taking a hit at the moment? Is my prayer life, there's plenty of times when I feel like I don't pray as much as I do on other occasions, or I don't read the Bible as much as on other occasions, that I don't feel like I'm investing in people at church, or relationships with Christians, because I have many relationships with lots of people who are multi-faith and don't think much about Jesus, and work colleagues and all sorts. So I reflect on what motivates them, what drives them, and embracing those things. But I would have to honestly say that whilst my faith might feel high at some points, and I'm like, whoa, just God is amazing. God, the Holy Spirit there's kind of crazy stuff going on around me that are so unexplainable, miracles going on. That's just crazy, and I'm a part of seeing those things. And then there's other times when I haven't seen those for a long time, but the answer, no. There's never been a time when the core fundamentals of knowing that I'm loved, and knowing that I'm made for a relationship with God, and knowing that that's possible through Jesus, as crazy as that, as alien as that might sound to some people, or even some people listening to this now, I haven't ever questioned the very core of that, and the purpose of Jesus in his place in history 2,000 years ago. That is, the central themes and core of that I have never questioned, because I'm just so utterly convinced. So it's all about trying to reform other men and women's ideas that have been put into me at an early age, or reform and recalibrate and retune what other people have fed into me, and so making sure that is in line with my maturity as I've grown up, and how to make those things make sense.
I can tell you've thought a lot about this. Like, it consumes the majority of your life, all of it, seems like, through and through.
Well, that's because people who I love dearly do not feel the same way as me about some of these fundamental things I believe about life. And so therefore I question their existence. Why are they here? for themselves. Why are they here? Why are they here for me? What makes them tick? I got to understand that. You know, maybe as a, for lots of different ways, you know, as with the work I do, trying to understand what makes them tick and the stories that they tell and understand them. I do think about it because, you know, how can, you know, I feel as though I have this truth that I have about life, and I want to share it with others and have other people share it too, but they have that freedom to choose their own way, and so and they seem to be doing fine in their life and the happiness and where they are. So how does that compute with me? But so I do think about it.
Next question. What cause or group of people are you passionate about making life a little bit better for?
Gosh. Anyone who's in need.
Really?
Well, that sounds so...
That could be... It could be anyone. Anywhere.
I don't have a cause. I mean, there's various charities that I support financially, and, you know, let me think, is there a cause or a group of people? No, there isn't really. I think the authentic answer to that question is that if I'm in a room, or like it's at a party, or if I'm just anywhere, if it's at work, and there's somebody that is not fitting in, or is slightly marginalized, or is being ignored. I can't stand the notion of people being ignored. So if that's going on, then I want to stop that. So if there's a cause there, it's making sure that people feel welcome, that they feel loved and are part of things. So that would be a modus operandi for me. But there isn't I'm not a flag waving, banner waving guy for a particular cause.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Next question. This is question number 8. What are 2 positive words that you would use to describe yourself?
Enthusiastic and energetic.
I don't agree with those at all. Why enthusiastic? Enthusiastic about what?
The air I breathe.
Really? You're just happy to be alive?
Yeah, just life. Enthusiastic about anything. Look, there's a stick. Let's go get it. Yoo-hoo!
You're a party and a person. That's what you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm still caught up on the person in the room that you want to see and invite into the space. I love that. It's great. Enthusiastic, energetic. Question number 9. Ooh, what is like a moment or an event that was happening and you thought, oh my gosh, my life is over. I'm not going to be able to continue. In terms like maybe you skipped class. For me, when I drank my first beer, I thought the world was going to end.
Because you'd been naughty.
Yeah, and I only
because the malted barley trickled down your throat with a fizz and a pizzazz that awoke in you the need for liquor.
It was the first and the last. So.
I think to do with my work, I think if you turn up late, my, when I have a job, it's a very collaborative work, so you end up having to work with other people in a way that they are all relying on you and relying on each other. And so it's very important, and you kind of all work together at the same time on the same project, moving forward together. And therefore, you know, you take your tea breaks together, your lunch break together, your afternoon tea break together. And, you know, that has various dynamics that branch off, as it were, on occasion, but generally speaking. And I think I like to be early, but never more than a minute, as it were. And so, you know, I do like to be prepared, but I like, whoa, how much fun can be had in the minute before that minute that I'm required. Therefore, basically that's a kind of a way of saying I can sometimes be late, even though I hate being late and letting other people down. But when I say I like being early, that's only because I like being on time. It doesn't mean actually I like being early. So I think there's been a moment where there was quite a good job that I got on occasion, and it felt like a move forward in my career. And when you know, you're on a tube commuting in London, and you're on the train, and it's just not going your way, and you just know that you're not going to make that connection, and you know you're not going to be on time. And so it's that feeling in your gut of, I can't, this whole carriage full of these people, the claustrophobia, and you're packed, and I can't get, and you feel like, oh, if only I hadn't brushed my teeth. If only I'd walked a little faster or cycled my bike faster down to the train station and just caught that. And if only they hadn't been late. And I think that swirl of being out of control is unpleasant. That feels like a little bit of a lame answer, but I can't. Nothing's triggered in my memory.
No,
Think of
I liked it.
a moment. Okay.
That's good enough for me.
Good.
Next question. Next question is, love and suffering are said to be our greatest teachers. So what has each taught you?
I'd have to talk about my marriage with regard to suffering, with regard to love, and commitment, and love in a marriage of over 20 years now. Yes, it was 20 years last year, just thinking then. So commitment in a marriage has taught me about love, and going on that journey, seeing the person that you love through different episodes of their life, and walking that journey with them. And so that's been a journey through love. And having children takes it to a whole new level of, I think, I mean, in some ways, at first you think you definitely die for your partner, or you'd consider it, you'd weigh up the options. But for my children, no doubt, take me now, let them go. But for your partner, you're like, well, on reflection, maybe it's better you take her and let me live, because I'll be better off looking after the children. Or no, it comes back to the children. That sounds so harsh.
Just a little harsh.
But but I mean, that's got to be a guttural thing. I mean, that's me trying to be honest, and I probably would die for my partner too, actually. But there's no doubt in my mind about
really?
About my children. So that's a
No,
love
no.
that goes to another level. Were you going to say something? Sorry.
Well, you have two kids, and so at what level
Yeah,
is the second
I'd die for
child?
one, but not the other one.
Yeah, like the same. It's like same stuff, different day.
No,
You
no,
know.
rewind. Joke. Sorry, say again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. Like you've got two kids. Like, would you die for both of them, or have you chosen which one?
Oh
Or you're
no, of
just
course. No, no. There's no. Um, there was a bond. The bond is totally equal and strong to them both. I have to say that, and I mean to say that. But the real answer to the journey on that love is interesting because my firstborn had a milk allergy early on, and it made him poorly for the first 6 months of his life, and he got very
Wow.
ill. And so, nursing him back to health, like having my firstborn, and instantly that instant love of the first, and then round about 3, 4, 5 months it's bad, 6 months diagnosed, and then a journey for health. And my partner was back at work at 6 months or so at that period, apart from when we were looking after him. And so I helped on the journey back for recovery for my firstborn. And so that was a deeply bonding, time. And I was having to feed him through a nasal gastric tube milk into his stomach, and you had to pull out stomach juices and squeeze it on litmus paper to check that it was slightly acidic or whatever, check the pH value of it to make sure that the tube hadn't gone down into the lungs, so that you didn't put a formula that didn't have milk in it, but the milk taken out. You didn't shove that into the lungs and kill them, drown them. You were shoving it into their stomachs, because that's a scary time. And that created a bond that was very deep. And so with my second child, it genuinely took a while to really bond and connect. Like I'd almost say as much as 8 months or 7 months. Of course there was love there.
Yeah.
But that absolutely unquestionable, I would die, for them. The reality is, as in the aspect of your question about love, that the level to which I am now with them took a little bit longer with the second child, but we're only talking months of the baby's life. But that's an interesting one. And on suffering, I feel my life has been a very privileged middle class existence where I could count on one hand really the people close to me that have died. There haven't really been. And so moments, I'm such an optimist and an enthusiast and an energy person that and a positive person that I don't get down really often. I might get grumpy, but I don't really. And so for me, that time where my firstborn was really ill, that wasn't really suffering. That was just hard, and he almost died, but that wasn't suffering because he didn't, and there was a way through it, and I believe there'd be a way through it, and and so any suffering for me might be the fact that my hopes and my dreams within my career, or the jobs that I get or don't get, haven't quite matched what I might have hoped for. But I'm still on that journey with regard to my career being self-employed and a freelancer, as it were, and feast or famine type job situation. And so, but that's not suffering. And so I have friendships with other people who have suffered and do suffer, and so I feel their pain in a fraction of what they feel. And so my heart kind of, bleeds for them deeply on occasion and not on others. But the answer to that question is I haven't really experienced suffering like millions on this planet have.
The bonding with your children, like, really gets me. That, especially with your oldest, my goodness, that must have been quite terrifying.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a whirlwind ride where you just are trusting doctors and you're trusting the medical profession, and I mean, you just don't counter it. That's why I think if he had have died, I would have struggled to compute that,
Yeah.
as parents do, who just feel utterly robbed.
Yeah.
It would make no sense. So therefore, the fact that he didn't, you are on that journey of going, oh, it of course it's going to be okay. So, but yeah.
The next question kind of relates a little bit to that, just a little. Have you ever thought you were going to die?
No, there was a time when I didn't attach a rope to a rope swing that I'd made. And my sister, who's 7 years older than me and was heavier, went on it and loosened it. And there was a time when I swung out on this rope swing and it was, ah! And then it, ah! And I landed on a fallen down branch of a tree between my legs, like that.
Stop.
And I landed on this, and then the whiplash of the landing made me come forward, and I headbutted the branch, and where I headbutted the branch, there was actually a little knot of a spike, effectively, that kind of just missed my head. And apart not being able to breathe because I was winded as well. I mean, really, I wasn't near death, but that could have been bad.
Didn't you hit your balls?
Yeah, I'm thinking, was there a moment when I've been out at sea swimming, and I've thought, this current is a bit strong, but other than that, nah.
The rope swing, yikes. Yeah. That's pretty close to that, I think. Okay, we only have three more questions.
Okay.
Actually, four.
We've been talking a while. So
I know.
Do I need to give some quicker answers to these last three questions?
It's up to you.
Well, I don't want your listeners on your podcast, as in your mum and your sister and one of your brothers, not the other brother. I don't want them to be bored.
Okay. Question number 12. What are your thoughts on cheating, and how would you define it?
On cheating?
Yeah.
Do you mean sexually, or do you mean in an exam?
Not an exam. I mean on people's partner. Maybe not your partner.
Because cheating is like, yeah, we're on a race. I'll get what am I? Repeat the question then. Now I know that it's about sex. Repeat the question.
What are your thoughts on cheating, and what is it?
Oh, and what is it? What defines it? Well, I'm a one-woman guy. And so my thoughts on cheating are absolutely never. But what defines it? I think we have to look after our thought life. We have to look after our minds. And I think, we might be sexually attracted to other men or women or just other just other human beings that are vibrant and exciting in a particular moment, but you have to keep those thoughts in check out of the sanctity and the protection of the marriage, of the bond that I have with, or one has with their partner, that I therefore apply to myself. So so my thoughts on it are protecting that and not letting, the wave of a moment or a party or a chat with an individual that goes on for too long in an intimate setting or a place or at work or where is trying to put boundaries in place so that you can safeguard, because not only yourself falling for somebody else and being distracted about that, but also respecting the fact that that person, if you give false signals, that person might start to give a bit of their heart to you, and you have that utter barrier of, well, no, that's just not going to go anywhere. So therefore, it's protecting other people as well. I don't want to say that in a way that sounds like, men and women fall over for me all the time, and I gotta keep their hearts safe. I don't know. I sound like an American president then, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
But so my thoughts on it are, you've got to guard that and care for that, and and watch what things that you watch as well. Like Game of Thrones, it's been amazing. I've only seen like the first 4 seasons as opposed to the 7 or the 8. But there's kind of a lot of flesh on show there, and this kind of sexy stuff going on. And so in some ways, there's an element of going, is this healthy for my marriage? Is this healthy for my mind to be filling it with these images and these visuals that then might kind of make it distracting when I want to be intimate with my partner, as it were. So it's about guarding your mind as well as your heart, as well as the moments that you find yourself in, but also being aware and enjoying the beauty that is around you. But there has to be boundaries.
This is way more fun than talking about exams. I'm so glad that we did this.
Whereas at a park run on a Saturday, when you're running 5 kilometers, you
Exactly.
gotta. No, I'm kidding. No, like people. Apparently, it's a done thing to cheat at Monopoly. No, it's not.
What? No.
Just no. It's a game. Doesn't mean you can cheat.
Next question. You're still young, but what is a career that you never pursued?
A career that I never pursued. What, that I still might pursue?
You could.
A career that I never really pursued was being a primary school teacher.
Really?
I trained to be a primary school teacher as a backup to the things that I really wanted to do. And that didn't pull off. That didn't quite, I still got the degree, an honours degree. But it wasn't the specific degree that I initially started. And so there's a slight regret and a slight remorse and a slight feeling of failure about not having had that chapter of my life unfold in a way that it was meant to. But it has, there's been times in my life where I have been a teacher and have taught students and had lots of opportunity to do that, but not specifically that avenue that I was going to go down. And I even had secured an interview and secured a job and was going to do a whole year at least in one school. But that kind of fell about my ears, and so that has a little mark of my journey on my head and my heart.
But I mean, you're so successful at the moment. I mean, you couldn't have really done that as a primary school teacher. Maybe. Maybe you could have.
No, I could. Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, what defines success? That's a whole other thing. But I think that the nature of my work means that I could have been a supply teacher in between jobs, and I find myself doing all sorts of other jobs in between the things that I really want to do. But when it comes to that avenue of my life early on, I didn't get to do that, and having done that for a year or 2 years as a 23-year-old, and just getting that out the way, I would have been fully qualified, and I would have always been able to dip my toe back into it with ease, in a very pick-upable, put-downable situation that would have suited me fine, and would have earned well for a daily wage very easily. That would have made my journey a lot easier with regard to just, earning a bit of money. But because I didn't get that, it was a lesson of life for me. You've got to put the hard yards in and the work in, and I was too distracted being a 7, an Enneagram 7 at university, totally unbeknownst of Enneagrams or of 7s or of what that meant, just consumed with all of the fun things that it was possible to do at university, instead of actually doing, everything at university is important to university life and the passage of life that one goes through between 18 and 22. But ultimately, you've got to enjoy all of that and get the degree. And so, I just got a different type of degree.
Last two. When you hear the siren of an ambulance, what's your first thought?
I say a prayer for the people the workers and the people inside it. After initially going, "Ooh, what's that? Is it exciting? Is it a story? Can I be a hero? Can I save the day? Do they need my help?" I don't always think that, but I do. It's nosiness at first is the honest answer. What's happened, and then it's. I then would turn that into a prayer for those involved.
All right, last question. Who is someone who has always wanted the best for you, or someone or some people, and always cared about what you would become?
Instinctually, the first thing is my mother. So I would say that about my mum. Yeah, utterly, stereotypically, she's somebody who is a mother who just would want the best for me, wants me to be happy. And a lot of love from my mum, and I don't see her enough. Oh, that's reflection on that question. Yes, it's funny that I don't think I demonstrate the love back to my mum as much as she demonstrates it to me. Although I tease her that you can call me as well, Mum. It takes 2 people to call each other, so there might be an element of that too. Oh no, she might actually watch this video. Hi, Mum, I love you.
Yeah, that would mean that 2 moms would watch this podcast, and I think that's highly unlikely.
What, your mum or my mum?
All right, that concludes all my questions for you.
Wow.
This has been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The last question is for me, so I guess you can ask me anything.
So, all right then, Eric.
Look at the smile you have.
So the first one that comes to mind because you prepped me, you did actually prep me with this question, and it came to mind almost instantly, And then I thought, oh, no, should I ask that? Because I don't know what the course of the be, but I can't get rid of that thought in my head. So you, both of your parents are on an aeroplane that's going to crash, and you are in charge remotely of the final parachute.
Oh my gosh. All right, go on.
Well, it's in two parts. So who do you give it to and why? And then I was going to caveat, I don't want a logical answer. I want some emotion. I mean, there might be a logic. The logic might help you answer, but I need some emotion in the answer.
Yeah, okay. So my first emotion and the first response is that right away I would give it to neither of them, actually. It sounds a bit cruel, but I think that if the plane was going down, they should both crash and die together. They love each other so much and have such an amazing relationship that I think if one of them had a parachute and knew that the other had died, that would just be the absolute worst. So in no way would I want to separate them. I think it would just be terrible. Like, not like, oh, I like my mom more than my dad or anything like that. It's much more that them being a unit, they've been married for 48 years, and to think, oh, I want one of them to survive, that would be just as sad, to have one alive and one die. Maybe it's my own psychological gut knowledge that they're both gone together and that's a little bit easier. But I walk around these cemeteries near my home in London, and it's always like on the memorials, reunited at last. And I think maybe they are reunited. I have no idea, but in that sense, I think they would be much happier if they were going down together. I think that there's this sense that the surviving one would feel such great loss, and I think to witness that would also be quite sad. So to answer, neither of them will get a parachute.
Blast! I didn't think that would have been an option, but you had the power. Arrgh. That's good, though. That's good. That's a great answer. Yeah.
That's it. That's a great question, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been such a fun interview. I've learned so much about you, and I've learned so much about, all right, one, I can't wait to have kids, and also to have a partner to go through things with, to learn about love and also your reflection on suffering. I found really amazing. Witnessing other people's suffering as well, and how you didn't think you had gone through much with your first son. I found that really fascinating. I also really admire your ability to know that God exists and that that's your North Star. I really love that.
Yeah.
And I see that that is a common theme in your life, that it's very inclusive. You include a lot of people. And I see your identity kind of feeds out of that, or feeds from that, I guess. And I find it quite moving. So thank you.
That was a great summary of the hour.
Oh yeah, I guess it was.
That means that shows that you were listening, Eric.
Yes, of course I was listening. So, all right, everybody. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Oh, Go On Then, You're Amongst Friends. And thank you, Daniel. Have a very good day in London.
Thank you.
It's evening in Seattle, so I'm off to bed.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Oh, Go On Then, You're Amongst Friends. All of the podcasts are made possible thanks to the generosity of our online community of supporters, who I see as the friends who listen along. I love that. I love that the podcasts begin with you, the listener. You can visit ogoonthen.com to learn more about the podcast and maybe consider supporting the creation of new episodes. Anything counts. If you can't, I completely understand. I'm really grateful for the time that we have together. You'll find the link to ogoonthen.com in the show notes below. To all of you who listen and have been so encouraging, thank you. Could not do this without you. And I look forward to our next episode together.